Alright, so you created a working Pi-hole installation, and then several of you did it again. Because if there's anything better than Pi, it's more Pi. You block a ton of ads in telemetry, and then you leave your house and it all comes back. So what if you want to keep using Pi-hole or AdGuard Home when you're off your LAN? Welcome back to Dad Explains Everything. Recently, I've helped many people load Pi-hole and AdGuard Home onto Raspberry Pis, generic single-board computers, used small form factor PCs, and network appliances like NASs and routers. I even made a video showing how to create synchronized redundant Pi-hole installations. And then I confused a lot of you with a video about credit scoring and credit repair scams. Remember, I don't just tell you what you want to know, sometimes I'm going to give you the dad stuff that you need to know too. This isn't one of those days. Today, you'll take your Pi-hole and make it accessible from anywhere in the world. Do you have an internet connection? Great. You'll be ad-free everywhere. And just for brevity, I'm going to say Pi-hole for the rest of the video. Just understand that anywhere you hear Pi-hole, you could just replace it with AdGuard Home or Technitium. The concepts are the same, regardless of what DNS filtering you are self-hosting. Generally, for remote access, you have multiple options. 1. You can map port 53 through your router, but plenty of ISPs don't let you do that. Double-NAT, including carrier-grade NAT or CGNAT, can prevent you from mapping ports at all. Also, that's fine for one instance of Pi-hole, but not for two. And since you're into redundant solutions, that won't do. 2. You can get a virtual private server or VPS and install Pi-hole on it. There are no issues with making this externally accessible, but it can be complex and more costly. Also, unless you're going to have two VPSs, you still won't have redundancy. 3. You can host a VPN on your LAN. This is powerful and can suit many requirements, but it can be difficult to set up and configure properly. Generally speaking, it doesn't work with double-NAT, including CGNAT, which excludes a lot of people. 4. You can use a mesh VPN or an overlay platform. There are a number of these like Tailscale and TwinGate. In this video, I'm going to show you how to take your Pi-hole setup and make it accessible from anywhere with Tailscale. In case you're not already familiar with Tailscale, it's a networking tool that allows you to take devices with internet connectivity and make them appear to be on the same LAN. You can do this without mapping ports on your router, configuring routes or firewalls, or standing up a VPN server. Instead, Tailscale sets up encrypted WireGuard tunnels and hides the details of key exchange, device authentication, NAT traversal, routing, device resolution, and access control behind an easy-to-use package. Tailscale is a commercial service, but it has a free tier. Why would I push you in the direction of an external dependency at all, you might ask? Well, when I was going through your options, I mentioned that the other options either required you to have the ability to port map or required you to stand up an externally accessible server. What I've learned is that many of you are behind CGNAT. Most of the rest of you want the best solution possible with as little additional complexity as is absolutely necessary. This solution, for example, does not require you to do anything with your router. Hence, Tailscale. For most of you, what you need to know is that Tailscale acts as an external connection gateway. It's not behind NAT, and it can always broker a connection between two different devices, even if both of them are behind NAT. This is how you avoid setting up dynamic DNS and port mapping. If you really hate the idea of using a commercial vendor's product, even for free, let me know that you want me to make a video on headscale. Since I'm proceeding with Tailscale, I'll let you know that there are multiple ways to configure it. You can install Tailscale directly on devices, you can create a subnet router, or you can mix both. This project is going to use direct installation. I'm not going to argue with anyone about it, as you are free to set up yours however you want. The local install route does allow you to have your redundant Pi-holes not reliant on a single subnet router to provide access to both Pi-holes. What good are redundant Pi-holes if Tailscale has a single point of failure? Per usual, there's a worksheet for this tutorial. It's mostly a checklist, but I recommend that you do the usual. Print it out and write down the information requested, and copy-paste the commands as they come up from the worksheet directly. The link is in the description below. To start, you're going to need a Tailscale account. For that, you're going to go out to tailscale.com. The free account is good for up to 3 users on 100 devices. A 6-user account costs $5 per month. But almost everyone will be fine with a 3-user account, as most people will only configure a single user, regardless of how many actual users they have. Now that you've signed up for your account, we will install Tailscale on the Raspberry Pi. First, you're going to SSH into your primary Pi-hole and run the curl command. Then you'll run Tailscale up as shown on the worksheet. You'll get a login URL, which you'll open on your PC. Then you'll authorize your device. This has registered the device onto your Tailscale account where it's now visible. If you have a second Pi-hole, you'll repeat this process on the secondary Pi-hole. That was fast, and it was easy. We still have a few steps left though. On the Tailscale web admin, we're going to go to the Machines tab. In order to make sure that your DNS doesn't periodically stop working, for each Pi-hole instance, you're going to go to the 3 dots at the far right of the row. Then you're going to select Disable Key Expiry. This will keep the machine registrations from expiring. Next, we're going to go to the DNS tab. You'll toggle Override DNS Servers to On. This is necessary to get Tailscale to use your DNS servers. Then you're going to select Add Name Server, then Custom. You'll enter the Tailscale IP address for your first Pi-hole. If you have a second Pi-hole, you'll repeat this for the second Pi-hole. Now, Tailscale knows what DNS server it's supposed to advertise and use. This isn't exactly a normal configuration for Pi-hole. For security reasons, it only responds to requests that it regards as originating locally. Tailscale changes this. In the Pi-hole web UI, you're going to go to System Settings DNS. With the Expert toggle at the top right corner enabled, you will change the interface settings from Allow Only Local Requests to Permit All Origins. There's a security warning, but you can disregard it because the only external access that's possible is with other devices that you connect into Tailscale. You can save and apply. Do this for both Pi-hole instances if you have two. If you are running AdGuard Home instead, the procedure is a little different. AdGuard Home is already listening on all interfaces and IPs. In the AdGuard Home UI, you'll navigate to Settings, DNS Settings, Use Private Reverse DNS Resolvers, and uncheck it. Click Apply. Then you'll go to the Access Settings section, go to Allowed Clients, and make sure the text box is empty. Do this for both AdGuard Home instances if you have two. And just like that, all of the preparation is done. You're ready to rock, kind of like Spirit Box at the Grammys. With the party going, the last thing to do is invite the guests in, figuratively speaking. Since the point was to access your DNS filtering on the go, you'll need to install Tailscale on any of the clients that will roam off of your local area network. That would normally be phones, tablets, and laptops that leave your home. Out at tailscale.com/download, you can find client downloads for macOS, iOS, Windows, Linux, and Android. Installing and registering the clients is even easier than doing it on the Raspberry Pi. Here's a look at Android. The installation takes a couple minutes, and you have to log into your Tailscale account. Once you have, it's configured. It will work on your LAN, on your friend's Wi-Fi, and as you're reading the news, ad-free, on the subway, or whatever, and wherever. Installation is largely the same for all platforms. If you run into an issue, you can go into the client Tailscale app, go to DNS settings, and turn off Use Tailscale DNS. I'll bet you thought all of that was going to be harder. Well, it's not. As always, if you ran into issues, I will stay after class to answer questions. Seriously though, if you have problems, put a description of what's happening, or not happening, in the comments and I'll do my best to try and dig you out. We've really just scratched the surface of what Tailscale can do. It's kind of amazing, and it's way more flexible than a traditional VPN. You can set up subnet routing for more of the joined network experience that you get with a normal VPN, but you can also have granular application and service access control. It's not twin-gate, but it's close enough for almost all home lab users. Today's Tailscale project is an important part of some of my future home lab projects on this channel. I mean, storage, media, and home automation services are great, but they're way better when you can access them on the go. Tell me in the comments what projects you're most interested in so I can better plan my content order. If you found this video interesting or helpful, hit like, subscribe, and share this with anyone else that you think should see how easy it is to add Tailscale to their network. If you want to support my work, please hype the video and consider becoming a member. I'm not a big deal, so it's really cheap. Depending on the tier, we can hang out on Discord, so there's that. And while I hate to ask for money, these videos take a surprising amount of time to make. Speaking of members, I want to thank the new members on the screen for their support. Thanks, and have a great and remotely accessible day.